Hi, and welcome to the Personal Side of Business, where every business has a story. I'm your host, Jet Bunduwong. Today, my guest was a real-life James Bond and is now helping high-level leaders understand the power of influence, communication, and presence. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Don Weber.
Hey, Jet.
Yeah, so tell us, how did we get here? And I want you to get into as much detail as you need to.
Okay, well, I got up this morning bright and early, put the key in my car. Nah. Well, growing up, I was, as a youngster, I was kind of like bullied and stuff like that. So it kind of created a certain personality type that governments, for certain kinds of jobs, they like people with those sorts of characteristics. So being bullied and having to learn how to survive, and very quickly being able to adapt to situations, being able to read situations. And this is as a youngster. I carried that through high school and then the university. And later they came to me, offer me a opportunity. Though I didn't know what opportunity was being offered. It was like a gradual thing I got into. And then I realized, holy shit, where am I?
What was the first door that opened for you that got you into that opportunity?
It was through a friend. He was a French Canadian, supposedly. I'll never know for sure. I knew him for years before. Yeah.
Looking back in your life now, you're not sure what
Yeah, to be honest with you, I could tell you, we could go on a tangent on him because he's a really interesting character. But I knew him for a few years. I met him through this German girl who spoke 5 languages, is very talented. So I've always wondered about her now. But anyway, so she introduced me to this French Canadian guy. We became friends. But he used to go to Africa all the time doing these like weird things.
Yeah.
And I knew there was something weird about his life. And I asked him. He said, no, it's, I just go down there to go do business. But he had suggested to me that I get involved in the diamond trade, and I learn about how to buy rough diamonds because there's good money in that. And this was in the mid to late 90s. So I went to Antwerp, learned the diamond trade. I didn't know I was getting set up. I was being prepared for something down the road. So I got into diamond business in the late 90s.
And how long were you in that for?
Oh, a good 12 years.
Okay.
Rough.
Wow.
So 98, I pretty much stopped 2010. I'd say I was really out of it. I kind of tapered off when the economic crisis happened in 2008. I started tapering out of that. So I got in that business. I got her moving. We started to move. And then one day he contacted me and said, hey, would you like to have lunch with me and the French consulate down in southern Spain? Unbeknownst to me, I thought, yeah, sure. That sounds really cool. Free lunch, right? So I went down to southern Spain. We met with his friend to have lunch. I thought we were just having lunch. I'm going to meet somebody who's a diplomat, right? Cool. Well, it wasn't exactly that way. A lot of times your people that work in embassies actually work for intelligence agencies. In this particular case, this gentleman worked for the DGSE, which is the equivalent to MI6. Our equivalent in U.S. would be the CIA. He didn't tell me that though, but I figured that out pretty quickly.
He had the lunch. You figured out at the lunch?
No, I knew something was up, but I figured out later on who he was working for. He said, I've got some friends at the U.S. Embassy in Paris that would really like to talk to you. And this is right after 9/11 had happened.
Yeah.
So George Bush was in the White House. And I said, yeah, sure. It sounds cool. Sounds exciting, right? So I had a conversation with these people in Paris, and then they sent me to Colombia, Bogota. And then there I met a couple of agents, and that was a crazy thing because they sent me to an ice cream shop. You'd think they'd invite you into the embassy. No. They had me go to an ice cream shop, hang out in this ice cream shop with the French Canadian.
You're starting to see a pattern that food is always involved, right? It lets you ease whatever news you're going to get.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I didn't order any ice cream as I recall. I don't think so. I think my friend did though, but he was a pretty big guy too. And these black Suburbans kept driving around the block, which I knew that they were embassy cars, right? And they did this for like 45 minutes. I'm thinking, when are you guys going to like stop and come and have our meeting, right? Obviously, they were doing counter surveillance to make sure they weren't getting set up or whatever. So we had our first encounter, and it was all really nice and everything like that. And what happened is I was kind of given like small tasks. And technically, I was helping the Department of Treasury. Was the way it started out. And I helped them with some small tasks, but those small tasks gradually became bigger and bigger tasks. So small tasks maybe went from, I never got involved in drug dealing or the drug dealers. That was too small for our interests. Counterfeit and stuff like that was like the beginning steps. And all the way from that into arms dealers and like really heavy stuff in Africa and stuff like that. During that period, I traveled most of the time. I was on the road all the time, and so I get dicier and dicier. I was genuinely addicted to the adrenaline. I really enjoyed the excitement, but I used to think pretty much every day, will I be coming home tonight? Kind of thing.
Yeah, and at that point, by the time you were in there, how old were you?
I would have been hold on. Yeah, I would have been about 30,
Okay.
30 to 40, roughly.
So, and the reason why I asked that is I feel like at that point, looking back in when you're early 30s, as a guy, you have enough knowledge to make sound decisions, but you kind of have the balls to just want to do whatever you want to do at that point, right? So, it, when you're starting to realize that this is starting to get a little bit dicey, your life is always on the line. What's your next move? Do you keep going up? I'm in it. It's too late. I got to keep going with
The
this.
next juicy assignment would come along.
You could stop.
It was addicted, man. It's completely like adrenaline packed, and also you're kind of important in a way. Because if you've got the information, I mean, you're important, like important.
Because could you even stop at that point? Or are you so involved in it because of the information you know that they like you have to keep going?
I never thought really in the middle of something to stop because I'd be like wasting a lot of resources and just
Yeah.
people hanging. I suppose I could have, and
Yeah.
nothing would have happened. Probably would have pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
In fact, I
Yeah.
did dump I once did dump something we were working on because of the lack of professionalism of a foreign intelligence agency. And they were just a bunch of slackers. They know what the hell they're doing and get people killed the way they operate. I dumped them. I just left them hanging. But I never did that with any of the professional agencies. And there was no reason to. I mean, they always came through, said what they said they were going to do, and things worked out, with the exception of that one agency.
And then what was the point that actually flipped the switch for you and you were like, okay, this might be time for me to get out?
You're like, too much?
Yeah.
Probably the first time I almost dropped dead, and then the second time.
Can you talk about that?
Well, the first time, yeah, I can tell about it. I was traveling with someone else, and we went. Colombia and Ecuador were having problems. Because Uribe was president of Colombia at the time. He sent in military troops into Ecuador's territory to arrest or kill FARC rebels. Now I'm trying to remember the story. So anyway, we flew to Quito that same week or whatever, and they tried to poison us. That's what happened. We both ended up in really bad shape, and the course.
But you were pointed. You just
Okay, it wasn't poison in the sense like it was racine or
Yeah.
or strychnine or arsenic or something. There's something else they put in the food. It's kind of a long-term thing. But yeah, it almost took me out. I spent about a month and a half in the hospital because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Was the problem. And my friend was also messed up for several months.
Meanwhile, someone was coming to your bed giving you cookies or something that were also poisoned. Like just it was coming from different angles.
No, I left that. I was kind of ill. I came back to Europe. I went to go visit the hospital. The doctor told me, you're fine, blah, blah, blah. I traveled off to Asia somewhere, and I just got progressively worse. And actually, I got patched up in Asia. They patched me up pretty well. They sent me back to Europe. And then Europe, they put me in for about a month, 5 weeks, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I mean, they come by every day. So, okay, it's not tuberculosis, it's not this, it's not cancer, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. And then finally, what they figured out, it was a very, very nasty kind of parasite that was in my liver, and it's a terminal situation. So I was pretty lucky, and the medication was bad. So that was the first time, but I have enough stamina. That wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It was the second time. A few years later, I got attacked in Southern Europe, and I got in a fight with 3 or 4 people. And I can usually handle myself pretty well. I'm not saying I'm here like Bruce Lee or something, but I could handle myself. And a couple guys attacked me, and I dealt with them. But there was a third or fourth person that showed up with a steel pipe. He cracked my head. I remember when he hit me. I remember blacking out. I remember falling down and not being able to do anything.
Oh.
And then the next thing, I woke up in going into a tack machine in the hospital. And the guy tells me, I said, where am I? He goes, you're in the hospital. What time is it? 6 o'clock. What day? Tuesday. I said, shit, I have a flight to Caracas. I got to go. And he's going, no, you're not going anywhere. I said, what do you mean I'm not going anywhere? He goes, you've got a cracked skull and you might even die.
Yeah.
I'm like, die? What?
Do you, curious in a situation like that, do you think you made it out because they thought you were dead and they just left you, or they didn't want to kill you?
I think they thought I was dead because I was in the street for according to the hospital, about 6 hours.
Wow.
I guess a big pool of blood. I don't know. I didn't see it. And I had my money with me. They didn't take my money, my passport, nothing. So it wasn't a robbery, obviously. And specifically who it was, I'm not really at liberty to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that took me several months of rehab to get back to. I was like dizzy all the time,
Yeah.
even after they got my skull back together, and couldn't quite figure
Oh
out.
my God.
Yeah, it messed up my exercise. It was a bad deal. So then I decided, you know what? This is really
One more time.
yeah, three times. Right? Three times is a charm, right? My third time they'll get me for sure. So and also things had changed. He was no longer in the White House. During his administration, you always felt the U.S. government had your back. Obama is now his administration, and you did not have. They were very different.
So that can change dramatically, administration to administration. And you can feel that, or you can sense it out in the field.
Right. And I used to work with a lot of Interpol agents and Europol, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they had the same feeling. I mean, we talked about it openly, saying, yeah, it's not the same things like it's not your imagination. That's exactly what's happening.
What are some maybe one or two key elements that you feel out in the field that you're like, this doesn't feel the same?
Well, normally, let's say you're going in to do something. Normally, I would work alone, typically because there's less loose ends. I might, maybe on occasion, maybe with two people, but usually one of the people's leaving. So maybe you're introducing me to somebody.
Yeah.
Now it's my job to take over and become friends or whatever I got to do, and you disappear. Okay, it's usually not two of us.
Yeah.
Right. But you always have to feel, okay, I'm in XYZ country. It's not maybe necessarily a friendly country, but you always knew that there was somebody there that kind of had your back. So if something happened, you had a possibility of someplace to run or get some help, support. And that feeling was gone because the few times I asked for support, I wasn't getting the support that I would get in the past. And you rarely are calling in for stuff, but things do happen. I mean, what happens if you go in to go purchase, let's say, a bunch of counterfeit bills in a foreign country, right? And you're here with a stack of money and you say, right, okay, now I've got the stuff. I'm in this foreign country. Now what? Right? What do I do with the bills, right? I fly back to XYZ country with them because that's illegal, huh? Follow me. And the person's not picking up the phone.
Yeah. Now you're just stuck.
You're just stuck with this.
And you commit a crime.
Right? Yeah, you're like, if I take it back, I'm committing a crime. If not, I destroyed evidence. What the hell do I do?
Yeah, and this was a period, this before you had the digital connection, right? So did it take you a little bit longer to get connections back and forth from because this was prior to like smartphones that we have right now.
Oh yeah, smartphones. Back then we were still using things like dead drops and far more sophisticated than what people today.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's much more sophisticated systems that you can still use today. That I don't want to get into.
But
yeah.
I have a picture in my head that you're having to go to payphones.
Oh yeah, all the time. Oh yeah. Really? But payphones are not always safe either.
Yeah.
And you need to use different ones in different parts of town. And you got a thing called triangulation we had back then.
Yeah.
So they could triangulate your phone call by 3 points.
Yeah.
It's not as exact as GPS, but it's quite good. So we can know the person's within a given block. We used to use that all the time. Yeah, payphones, pagers, dead drops. So you might have somebody that works in the store, and you just come by and you just leave a message, and that message will go down to somebody else.
So it's basically a whole entire network that you have to keep up with. And if you start to fall out of the loop at any given point, like you don't know who's who, is at the point where you might want to be like, this is not looking good for me. I might need to figure this out, back out of it, and then go. You start from the beginning somewhere.
That's a great question. Yeah, it's a valid question. I don't think I really ever experienced that.
Okay.
But less resources being simply like, yeah, kind of in a way, not having people to fall back on. So, there might be certain taxi driver you might call.
Yeah.
In a certain country.
So it's almost like it goes from a government agency trusting to people that you just trust directly, right? People that you know for sure are not going to screw you over.
Right.
When you feel that administration change, you're like, doesn't feel good from coming back home, but at least I know where I am in my surroundings.
There's two levels. Some of those people came from government, and then you develop bonds. So, for example, when people talk about cross-border police collaboration, okay, great, you got Interpol. That's great. It's a computer system. But what it really comes down to is the agent in Mexico, let's say, has a personal relationship with the agent in Italy, personal relationship. Things get done.
Yeah.
Much more than just because they have a treaty. Just because Italy and Mexico have a treaty, that doesn't mean it's like as valid as a piece of toilet paper.
Yeah.
But it's those personal relationships because you trust each other. So you know that the other guy's not going to screw you over it back. Because you do have agents and people out there that they'll steal other people's cases. They'll betray you. You won't know. You don't know where their loyalty really is. Maybe they're crooked. It's happened. We had crooked people too. Yeah, working, opposing. They're working for government, but they're also extorting, maybe informants.
Right.
Yeah, the real stuff, huh? I'm telling you. So yeah, there was a lot of crazy shit.
I mean, that's a lot of, I feel like, mental, emotional stress that's always underlying that you're not even, I mean, you're probably so far in the thick of it that you're not even thinking about, but there's got to be moments where maybe you get a day that nothing happens, you're able to come out and you go, oh my God, like my heart's been beating 120 beats per minute for like a week, right? And my head, I'm tired, I haven't slept. Like, how do you deal with all that?
When that happens, like something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
Because you're so addicted to having the, is that where you were all the time?
So
It's like always like ramped up.
like, right. You spent your childhood getting bullied, getting traumatized, and then you put this emotional, physical, mental stress on you for like 20 years. What do you really think?
Psychotic, man. I'm not normal. I mean,
What do you do with yourself this way? You might need to go see therapy for a while. Yeah. No,
it's true though.
when you start to get into like, you're living this every single day. I've always had this question, and I don't feel like movies, anything, books do it justice. How do you maintain stability for like eating, like getting fluids in you, keeping in shape for being able to handle all that? Like, do you think of that stuff, or it's just so
Automatic.
Yeah.
I'd get up and run every morning.
Okay.
Where pretty much wherever I was. I mean, I was like in Ukraine or something like that in the winter. Maybe not running because it just wasn't practical, but I'd get up and run every morning. Why? What, for my health?
Yeah.
There's another reason, because I went to go run around the neighborhood, run around the area, and I was doing counter surveillance.
Nice.
And they know that.
Yeah.
I mean, the other side, they know that. But it helps me get, there's a van over there. Very interesting.
In case something, but also I'm assuming in case something happens in that you need to run, the area well.
Very important. I always want to know the area, all my exits. I mean, I'd walk into a new hotel, let's say hotel. First thing I'm doing I'm just in my room, or whether the hot water works. Okay, where's the exits? How the hell do I get out of here? Okay, here's the window.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff would be the first things I'd be looking at. Also, the street layout. Okay, if I have to get out of here in a hurry, whatever. Because I wasn't worried about other intelligence agencies or police and stuff so much. It was more organized crime.
Yeah.
And these people are professional. And by the way, there's a lot of organized crime people that work in intelligence. There's a opaque line. I'm not saying all intelligence agencies are organized. No, I'm not saying that. I'll be clear. Not all intelligence people are good. But there is
It helps on both sides, essentially, right?
And there is some connections.
Yeah. So now, when you're fast forward, when you're finally getting out of all this, when you finally get to sit down and relax in your home, do you feel that weight taken off of you at that point, or any of that stress, or are you still so like it takes like years to get rid of?
When I come back to the States, where I didn't have to be watching over my shoulder, let's say for a couple weeks, I didn't like it because I felt like I'm letting my my radar down.
Okay.
And having that antenna always on, always like there's something off. And I was always scanning, looking for something off. Now, sometimes they're red herrings. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It looks like something's off, but it's actually not. But I always wanted to be in that state of alert because it's called survival.
Do you think a lot of the times you're doing that, it's not really, it's just you going through that in your head by yourself? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Paranoia that wasn't real there. But you know how many times that paranoia was real?
What's the percentage you think that?
Probably 70.
Oh man.
Definitely more. So it's like it's worth that 30% of, I'm gonna say, bullshit paranoia, because so many times it was, and at least on one occasion I'd saved my life.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time. It really was a crazy time. It was it's not for the normal person. People think it's really exciting, this and that, and James Bond and what, but you know how many really cute girls I just turned down because of safety?
Yeah.
Because I want to take them back to my hotel or want them to know where I'm living at, right?
Yeah, but you've also talked about that you've had to had relationships, whether it be romantic or friendships, really for the information and for you to get ahead, right? So now my question to you in that is, that's got to have some sort of emotional playback on you over and over again for you to go through. Man, I'm using someone. It's not as genuine, right? And you seem like a really genuine person. So how does that deal? Or maybe you aren't. I don't know. Maybe with having lunch with a stranger, someone I haven't known at all.
Psychopath. No.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
But do you feel like that also takes a toll on you as a person, and you're like, I don't know who I am at this point, or were you able to concentrate and focus so much that you're able to compartmentalize where things go?
I was very good at compartmentalizing everything.
Okay.
So I was always thinking about, okay, if this happens, so point B to point C to point everything as much as humanly possible.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I used to spend so much time organizing for that plan B, plan C, plan D. We're talking, you know, luggage, maybe luggage that's 3 parts around the city or around the country, maybe with passports and cash in each one. All kinds of stuff for maybe escape, all kinds of like for phones. And because back then we weren't using smartphones, but we had with the G1s and G2, like the flips and stuff like that. Then the cameras start coming into those, which were really grainy.
Yeah.
So the pictures that he may have shown that are grainy, it's probably because it came off that or an old digital.
Yeah.
They said I didn't take a lot of pictures back then. That was one thing. Many times there were people taking pictures. I gotta go to the bathroom. Or I feel good. Turn around.
But you're saying you didn't want to be in them.
No, at all, because I never knew it down the road to make it. Oh, that guy. You follow me? But I thought that guy's name was John. No, it's Peter. No, it's Mark. Who the hell is that guy? Right? You follow me?
Yeah.
It's not. It's quite dangerous, actually.
It's interesting because I have nothing to question about my past, but hearing you talk about your past makes me question things. I'm like, what is real? What's not? Like, what if I have been sitting next to someone that's gone through this and is a,
You may
right?
have.
Like this is crazy.
I mean, again, they don't hire just anybody.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain psychological profile to do what I was doing. It's not for everybody. So I had the ability to believe my own lies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really believed them. And there was a part of me that knew it wasn't true. But it's a lie.
But you have to convince everyone else around you too.
And I'd convinced myself. So I'd tell that lie enough times that, believe me, I believed it. And I went to that school and I'm like this and I speak with a funny accent and all kind of stuff. And do it consistently.
Yeah.
And maybe have a few drinks and still do it. I mean, it really needs to be really ingrained that you take on that as your person.
So, and then when you come back to the States, do you try to practice that like when you're by yourself?
And there's not practice. It's so ingrained. What I don't want to do is step out of it and then step back in. I'd rather just stay with it until I'm done with that person, whoever that person might be. You discard that person and maybe you adopt a new one for something else.
Yeah.
Ending.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, you use this information or the skill that you've built out over 20 years to be able to help leaders, executives about it. What are some of the components that you feel like you take from that to be able to translate to what they're doing in the business world?
A lot, really. It comes really down to observing people, listening to people. Okay, yeah, you hear it all the time. Active listening, isn't that great? Emotional intelligence, isn't that great? Empathy, isn't that great? But it comes down to that. It comes down to looking at that person. When I say something, does their skin color change?
Yeah.
What do their under eyelids do? Little things like this. Give me a clue how they're feeling. What I just ask them to do, does that make them angry? Maybe they're hiding it. But if you're observing closely, you know what to look for, you'll see it. And why does it make them angry? Questions I ask myself as a leader. If I want to motivate somebody, how do I best motivate this person? Is this an ego guy? Or is this person, they need acceptance? And you have different kind of basic psychological profiles on people. Yeah, some people, it's really important that they're accepted. They're just looking for everybody to accept them. You have other people, they want to be important. They want to be recognized. I'll give you an example. The important, recognized ego guy, typically he'll have his desk with lots of books behind him, right? And he's going to have all these probably certificate, his PhD of this and his award of this and his, achievement of this and this. That's a good indication you're dealing with somebody who's got a pretty strong ego, right? So that's what's important to them. So you give them what they want.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're a leader of a company and you've got a strategy you're trying to roll out, and people are giving you pushback because maybe you have a senior director of the national director of sales who's been there 20 years and you're the new CEO and you've been there 2 days or 2 years or something. You've got this new program you want to roll out and he's giving you pushback, but it's important that he's on bed. He's with you on that. You have two choices, either to convince him to help you roll it out or replace him. Well, it's much better if you can get him on board, right? And how do you do that? By trying to figure out what makes that man tick, what motivates that person. In the spy world was the same thing. When I was going in to manipulate people, was figuring out what motivates this person. What's this person about? What do they want? They want money. They want chicks. They need money because their child is sick. What do they want? What do they need? And by figuring out what that thing is, generally, and giving them what they want, they're going to tend to like you.
Yeah.
If you give somebody what they need, all right,
Yeah.
not what they want, what they need, they're generally going to like you because you're like that food supply, you know?
Yeah. And when you're going through this with someone and you're training them, giving foundational tools to be able to use in their business world, um, how much of it is now having to learn about that person and make them shift a little bit? Because, like, for instance, if you're coming in here and you're like, okay, well, we need to find out what these people need,
Right.
but I'm an asshole.
Okay.
Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, so are you? Is the first goal is for me to understand that, or for you to change me and go, hey, you need to start getting a little more em- empathy in your life and be able to deal with that.
Would I be either coaching or working with you? And you're the asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very good. So once there's enough trust, I might tell you, maybe I would say in more diplomatic terms, or maybe there's better ways to deal with people, and you get more from people with honey than you do vinegar.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want people to be really engaged and doing things from the heart and their creativity and their sweat and their blood, they got to do it because it makes them feel good.
Mm.
If they're doing it just because they're getting a paycheck, they're going to only go so far.
Yeah.
And if they're doing it out of coercion, out of fear, they're only going to go so far. But if they're doing it because they get a kick out of it, they get a buzz out of it because they love it, they're going to go a lot further. So it's trying to figure out having the right people in the right job. Obviously, that's what HR supposedly does, right? And that's why they have the psychometric tests to do that, to help to identify. And those work kind of,
Yeah.
but they're not 100%. So trying to figure out the person. So you've got a person. Why does this person giving you pushback? What are they afraid of? Usually it comes down to that. Either this person feels, I'm afraid of this, or I'm going to get some pleasure from this.
Yeah.
People are basically almost that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say, okay, if it's fear, maybe it's fear because I'm going to lose my prestige or my ego, or because I'm fearful because I'm not going to be accepted. And those are two simple examples, right? There's more, by the way. That might be a fear. On the other hand, the pleasure for them might be, oh, I might get a promotion and people think I'm really smart. A lot of times a good leader, executive like CEO or something like that, will let somebody else get the credit.
Mm.
And it's a good way. Even though it was your idea, your thing, let them take the credit.
And I'm sure those type of people are easier for you to work with in the beginning, right? Because they want to help the community around them and the business be able to thrive.
Right.
Or am I wrong on that?
No, you're right. If you have to remember, what is your objective? If I want my company to grow and I want to get this outcome, I might have to do things that are uncomfortable for me as a leader.
Yeah.
Because it's not my nature. Let's say I'm a jerk and I'm a real egocentric guy and it's all about me. I might say, well, I have to let go. If I want to get what I want, I have to let go of that a little bit to get what I want.
Yeah.
Same thing. Think about if you're in an argument. You might think, well, what's the thing here? Work. I'm in an argument with somebody. Do I want to win this argument and prove they're wrong and they're stupid? Or is there an objective, an outcome I want from this argument?
Right.
I want them to take action and implement this plan. So that might take a different course, a different tact, there's different strategies I might use to get that accomplished. And that's what I help people do.
Yeah.
Not everybody's coachable. Not every senior executive is coachable. Sometimes you get people, they think they know it all. And hey, maybe some of them do. Good luck to them. But I can tell you, most people can always learn from this kind of training.
Yeah. And do you see that right away when you're starting to work with someone, maybe a third session, you're like, this is where impasse here, because it's not working out. And you're like, maybe it's just time to work. It's better for you to find someone else that can really work with you. But you're saying for the most part that all of us have the ability to be able to get coached and move in a certain direction.
Most people are,
Yeah.
I'd say most people are coachable, but there are people, they're just not willing to take any advice. And then you see those people also get replaced. I've seen that happen in really big companies too, where the board of directors sends them in to get help or coaching or whatever. They're resistant to it.
Yeah.
And then a year later, the board of directors, they replace them with somebody else because they're not.
How much do you think the environment and atmosphere of a business can lend to a leader being able to take these skills and thrive with it? Right.
Repeat the question. Yeah,
Like,
good one.
If I'm the exec in a company, there's 200 of us,
Right.
and I'm and I'm willing to make this shift. I get you as a coach. I'm going there. I'm so open minded. I'm going to do this. But then this atmosphere around me has like, we hate this guy. We don't want to help him out. Is it or is it too hard for you for that exec to go in there and be like, I can still change. I can still change this whole entire business.
I think you could still change it in most cases. I mean, you might, okay, if you have 200 people and you're saying the feeling is they hate you, there's probably a few individuals that feed that. And then you need a little bit of what we call change management. You can help these people be happier. You can give them an opportunity to be happier elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you need to identify who are those people who are just like entrenched against you. Some of them maybe you can win to your side by figuring out what they want and what their fears are or whatever. And you might have to be a bit more subtle how you go about doing it. You might not call them in and say, oh, we're going to have a therapy session here. We're going to sing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
Probably be a little more slick about that. And you want to get people who are going to be allies to you in order for you to roll out that program. So you might have to do some changes to do that if you've got like a lot of resistance in the team. And obviously making some changes yourself.
Yeah.
Or trying to figure out what have you done that has created that environment in the first place. It could have been just really not hiring the right kind of people. But I'm sure there's, and it's going to be two sides of that.
And one of the things that you've talked about is leadership under pressure too, right? So when you're looking to help someone that's feeling that pressure from it, what are the things that you're looking for as a coach and saying, okay, these things are falling upon you and I can see it's getting too much. This is how we have to start to change you or uplift you or fight whatever pressure's coming on you. What are some elements that you're looking for? Like, it's getting too much for you.
I guess you're talking about like stress management type stuff. Well, one thing is maybe learning to step back and learning to prioritize. There was just on Forbes the other day, someone was asking a question on this. It was a really good one. Learning to prioritize. So you can't do everything. That's stupid, right? So you have to figure out what is the one or two things that's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. What's one or two things that are going to give us the biggest result? Because I can't do everything. So I'm going to focus on those one or two things. Right there, you've just reduced a lot of the workload. Okay. When you're stressed out as well, you come into a meeting, right? And you have an argument. I don't know. The meeting goes poorly. You're frustrated. You're angry. Now you got to go into another meeting. Well, if you walk into that other meeting immediately, guess what's going to happen? Your anger and frustration from this meeting is going to go right into the next meeting. And it's probably not going to be as productive as it could be. So you're better off maybe and I've known very senior executives like CFO of a huge petroleum company. I walked with him one day and we went for a walk for about 10, 15 minutes, took some fresh air in and we chit-chatted. Then he went back to, he went to his next meeting and carried out what he had to do, but he was really hacked off at what had happened at the previous meeting. So having the intelligence of doing it, it's the same thing. Like you get an email, it pisses you off and you write them this email and then you think, oh yeah. Well, you know what? I'll just put this in draft. And I'll come back to it. And then you read it and you go, oh my goodness, I'm glad I did.
That is something that I've learned over the years is to not react response. Like come back tomorrow or later on that day after things have subsided. And I think, I don't know if this is going to be stereotyping, but I feel like when, as a male, the first thing is just react to it, right? Be like, I always solve this, deal with this, move on, right? And I think it comes off a lot easier. I'm like, oh, this is intelligent. I can respond and have a better response to this because now you start to learn that the other side of it, someone's reading this and it was just be like, okay, becomes, oh, okay. Like it's a totally different, it's a different thing now. Like the first time, 20 years ago, a text or an email came through, we all, I think, felt like we read the same way.
Right.
And then now it's like, there's so much interpretation. Like maybe it's time for me to just sit back a little bit, let my emotions, soften, and then I'm going to come back to it. Are you teaching them skills to deal with this as you're coaching them?
Yeah, for sure. Depending on what they need. But in this case, have you ever read a message or an email and it came across a certain way and then you come back and read it a few hours later and you read again?
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Is this person being just direct? But you think that it's personal against you,
And I use this analogy a lot where it's like wearing tinted glasses. If you're wearing tinted glasses and they're pink color, right? Well, everything's going to look pink. If you're wearing tinted glasses and they're yellow, everything's going to look yellow. So if you're wearing tinted glasses and you're like maybe a little bit angry, frustrated, stressed out, your perception might not be that real.
Yeah.
They're slightly tinted, so that's why it's sometimes better to. And there's usually nothing so urgent you need to respond immediately. And
Yeah.
if it's something where you could make a mistake, stop.
Yeah.
Deal with it a little bit later. Reflect on it. And if it needs to be dealt with still harshly after 24 hours, there's still time.
Yeah.
It's not, again, a question about winning. It's about getting the outcome that you're after and always keeping that in mind. And you think perspective. And think about something. You have an argument with somebody in 1 year, who's going to really care? Probably.
Yeah.
And definitely in 10 years, nobody's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
So we need to put things in perspective that we got a lot of importance to something that maybe is really not that important.
Yeah.
It might seem really important right now at the moment. Oh my God, I got to deal with this. But I guarantee you in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years, whatever, it's going to be less and less and less important.
Yeah. And, this is something that's interesting about you that I feel like because you have dealt with such high pressure duress on you for such a long time, for you to be able to step back and see like an email is not that important, it makes sense, right? Because it's really relative. Like you're just like, no, someone was shooting in my head. This is an email that you could deal with within like literally 24 hours, right? I feel like
Wait.
yeah, and I feel like I wonder if that's what makes you a good or great coach too, right? To be able to get perspective and say it's really not that important. But what's going to be a bigger picture is that this person that works underneath you is not going to be pissed off at you for the next 3 weeks, but you're able to have a communication with them, right? So,
And words can really be damaging. You can say something the wrong way or taken the wrong way. And to get that corrected can take you, or maybe never.
mm,
So that's why it's really important. Like what you say to people, you need to be, and especially nowadays, because there's now psychological safety.
Yeah.
I've heard people saying that verbal abuse is akin to physical abuse. I don't know. It's not that I'd rather have somebody call me a bunch of names and punch me in the nose, right? But
it's like I felt it. I know what it's like, right? And when you were going back a little bit to when you were talking about human cues and body language, is that a skill that takes a long time for the average person to develop? And when you're reading someone, do you think the people you've worked with, you're like, this is on average takes like 3 months or whatever it is?
it depends on the individual. First of all, how curious they are about people.
Mhm.
Like yourself, you're curious about people, so it'd be a lot quicker for
Yeah.
you. What your ability is to observe people. So you're curious, you like observing people, you're going to learn a lot quicker. You're not curious, you're not good at observing people because you're too interested on whatever's happening on your phone or whatever your mind's all over. You're not going to be very good at body language because you're going to miss stuff. And it's the small things. People are really good with poker face, right? It's other things
Yeah.
that come across.
Yeah.
It can be the feet, finger movements. Again, a lot of times around the eyes can give you clues. Around the lips too can give you clues.
Yeah.
So it's other things, and it's being very observant,
Yeah.
and seeing the different. Now you're feeling paranoid.
Yeah, I'm super paranoid. I don't like talking.
Years ago,
Take this back to zoo.
years ago, I used to tell people, yeah, what do you do? Oh, I teach body language. I thought people think, oh, this is really cool. Teach me, right?
Yeah.
And people used to creep out, man. They take
Yeah,
off.
I don't feel comfortable with you.
Yeah, it's like,
There's I feel like you know too much about me without knowing too much about me, right? It's because of I know your history now that you're able to read things and then see things, so it's kind of creeping me out. But now you've taken a lot of this, and it's not just coaching, right? You do speaking engagements now too. And what are some of the things that you really like the topics that you like to bring up or talk about when you go to speaking engagement?
then talking about, well, one of them is difficult conversations, arguments, and stuff like that, and how to avoid them and how to deal with those kind of nasty confrontations, because it's something that all human beings, we all
Yeah.
encounter and stuff. I really enjoy teaching people that. And I've done a number of like executive MBA programs teaching them. Executive presence is kind of cool. And because you can tie in body language into it and
Yeah.
voice tonality and all that kind of stuff. I like teaching public speaking sometimes with people, depending who the group is and stuff like that can be fun because it's got a little bit of like art in it, a little bit of drama, a little bit of, adding elements to it. But my main thing is I like figuring out solving problems. So when I get a client who's got a problem with maybe his client or a client who's got a problem with his team, and I can help him sort those problems out, that's very satisfying.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and they'll listen to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes them a lot of times people, it's just intuitive. And they're like, well, I've never done things like that. Well, if you do what you do, if you do the same thing and expect to get a different result, there's Einstein was
Yeah. So So when you're talking with these people and to get them to change, um, I will bet you that once they see the first thing that happens positively, right? They're like, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They're like, oh wow, this guy actually knows what he's saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's been to have your um, life be where it is now. Did you think 30 years ago that you were going to be helping businesses, small businesses, or execs?
Maybe 30 years ago, but I never thought I would end up working for the government.
Yeah,
I never thought of that in a million years.
yeah,
That was not on my plan. That was not on my radar. But that would just surprise me. And there's a certain amount of like patriotic kind of like
yeah.
for the greater good, and
Yeah.
I'm sacrificing. Nobody knows what I'm doing, and I'm flying all over the place and whatever. Um, so
But you've had long period of stages, it feels like, that have helped you get into that have produced this next phase of your life, right? You had this bullying kid or that had to deal with all that for probably like teenage years,
Mhm.
take that into this 20-year period that you were working the government,
Mhm.
and now you're taking that to be able to help probably this back part of your life, be able to help execs and leaders be able to move forward and become better business people, leaders, and then just better people in general, right? So
Well,
that's amazing. I mean, it's impressive. I think, when we started connecting a while back, and so, I don't know, can I tell you where you live? Should I say
I
that?
live in California.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I live in Europe and then
yeah,
California.
yeah. So, and the reason why this is relevant is, when I connected with Don a while back, um, we said there was a possibility that we weren't going to connect because Don was only here for a little while in California, and that he was going to go back to the UK. And I was like, you know what, I don't want this to be about uh, impersonal because of the story that Don has. And I think if you guys get a chance to go on his website, check out everything that's on there, um, and then learn about what he does, because I think it's going to help you become, like I said, a better person, but also a better business person as well. And then where can they find you?
You can find me at drwebercoaching.com. You can find me at the Forbes Business Council. You can find me on LinkedIn at Don Weber. And I think that's pretty good place to start.
Yeah, they're great. Well, thank you, Don. It's been a pleasure. And, I'm going to follow up with you down the road and be able to hear where you're at now and then see the progress you have. Thank you so much for being on the personal side of business.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.